Hey nerds, what's up? Let's talk about Rings of Power Episode 4. As a reminder, I do call these videos All the Differences, but in this case, it's really all the similarities with lore. I call them All the Differences because that's the name of my series, and so it makes it easier to find, but yes, as this is mostly non-canonical, we just talk about the similarities here. Also, I should mention, going forward, I am going to be giving a little bit of lore spoilers in this particular episode. Many of you guys commented that said you didn't mind if I spoiled parts of the Silmarillion, which may potentially spoil parts of the show, so just a warning going forward in case that will upset you. One other thing, I did make a slight mistake in last episode. I said the elves gave the island to Numenor. It was really the Valar, who are the powers that be, the creators of many things, so it is definitely different. Let's get into the differences. Okay, so this vision is true. Numenor does end up being sunk by a huge wave and becomes like the city under the water. Now, it's not because of Galadriel. She's not the one that plays this part that starts it off, but yeah, this does happen. Now, one thing I've been waiting to talk about until I saw more of the episodes, but I think at this point I can just talk about, is with Míriel and Ar-Pharazôn, is how Míriel is really in control in all of these scenes. Like, she is the monarch. Now, technically, she is the person with the rights to the throne, like the last rightful ruler of Numenor. But in canon, Ar-Pharazôn forces her to marry him. He's her uncle, and it's unwilling on her part, and that allows him to usurp the throne and kind of bring Numenor down a dark path. And so far, I just haven't seen that dynamic between them at all. I'm not saying that that's what won't happen, but right now it just doesn't seem to be there. So, but with Míriel leaving with Galadriel, maybe like this is the moment where Ar-Pharazôn is gonna like usurp the throne. Maybe they'll just do it differently and not have that forced marriage dynamic. So Kemen is non-canonical, which makes sense since they're clearly setting up a romance with another non-canonical character. Again, if the character isn't canonical, the stuff around them probably also isn't canonical. So far I'm not really recognizing any of the Southland stuff. As far as I know, Tar Palantir wasn't sick. His daughter wasn't like regent for a long time. I don't know. I don't think this is the story there. It says later she was chosen to rule because of the people's rebellion against his ideas, which also wasn't a thing. We'll talk more about that later. Adar is non-canonical. I'm sure many of you recognize the name Mithril, and yes, it was mined from Khazad-dûn, but it wasn't dangerous to mine, as far as I know. The story is that they just dug too deep. They got too greedy, not necessarily that it was dangerous. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I ended up having to rewind the scene like 4 times to make sense of it because it's just like the way it's told is really weird. But I do notice, if you guys notice this too, if you've read the book, I do feel like they are using the terms Valar and elves interchangeably, which isn't the case in lore. I don't know if I'm just mistaking that, but it kind of seems that they're doing that. But okay, so Míriel's grandfather was an opponent of the Valar and the elves, but her grandmother taught her dad to like the elves. So the queen's dad tried to repent for Numenor, likes transgressions, and be on good terms with the Valar again, but the Valar just never responded to it. And then it's suspected that the Queen Míriel would have followed the policies of her father and like brought Numenor back to the Valar's good graces, but then her throne was usurped by her cousin who forcefully married her. I think I said her uncle earlier, I meant her cousin. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is it wasn't like the people who revolted against her dad, it was more just that someone else took the throne that wasn't for the Valar anymore. Okay, so technically there were 8 Scene Stones and they were given to the Númenóreans, but it was at the fall of Numenor that 7 were rescued and brought to Middle Earth, and then some were lost. So this is like a little bit of a wonky timeline here for Numenor since it hasn't fallen yet, but you know, whatever. Yeah, this lore is actually pretty good. It's pretty accurate. Elrond's dad, Ariandel, was a pretty cool dude. So what do I think? I think the lore is still pretty good. Like I think they're using actually a lot more than I expected, which I know is gonna surprise people, but like they got like a decent amount in here. I still do feel like a lot of these episodes feel like they're still setting up something. And so I'm just not willing to comment on pacing or anything until I see the whole season. I'm willing to give things an entire season to pay off. Now I will say, because they are using so much setup time, I do feel like the payoff is gonna have to be pretty good to make that feel worth it. So I am curious what they're gonna do with that. I have questioned a little bit because I do think there are some scenes in every episode that aren't doing anything. And to be clear, I don't mean anything has to be like plot driving forward, always action, but every scene should mean something, whether that's setting up a location, it's setting up lore, it's setting up characterization. And there have definitely been scenes where I'm like, I don't think it's doing any of those things. It feels purposeless. So I don't like that they're, in my opinion, maybe wasting a little bit of time. But again, I'll give it the whole season to decide. But I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the cinematography. Like, yes, so far, is it like blowing me away? No. Am I enjoying it? Is it a fine TV show and I'm gonna keep watching? Yeah. I would say in the negatives, there has been a stupid scene in every episode, which I've just noticed. Like, there's been one scene that's like, how did that get past everybody? So for like the first one, I would say it was Galadriel jumping into the ocean. I kept being like, well, what are you gonna do now? The part where she's going with the horse and... that was like so weird, just like the way she was laughing on the horse. And this episode scene was definitely Theo hiding from the orcs. Like, it was just so stupid. So many shows do this whole thing where it's like, oh, he could have seen him, but he didn't. And it's like, in reality, you would have looked down. So, but that's a little quibble. I'll give an episode a stupid scene now and then. So anyway, at the point, like for me, I'm still at a crossroads. Like, I think at this point, we're halfway through the season and now we need to start seeing some payoff. So next episode, I think will be a very important episode, in my opinion. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. What are you thinking? How are you feeling about pacing? How are you feeling about storylines? Do you think the next episode will be important? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think about how they're doing with lore. Again, I'm pleasantly surprised. I think it's going well. Anyway, tell me your thoughts. And as always, if you want to see more detailed videos like this, please like and subscribe. That is the best way to support me. And if you want to see what I'm currently reading, as well as other nerdy rants, you can check me out on Instagram at bookborn.reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye.